Hi everybody, welcome on the replay and welcome if you're joining on YouTube. Today we're going to talk about, I think what many of us are going through. We're going to talk about inward tornadoes that are forming from outward forces, trying to bring us into fear, trying to bring us into lack, trying to bring us into anxiety. But the reality is that tornadoes can often be the cause of destruction. Let them go. Don't avoid them. Don't hide in your cellar. Don't hide in the reality of who you are. Face them head on in your divine humanity in order to birth what many are calling a new earth and a new human. And there's wonderful things to be said by Penny Kelly, who's a great speaker, that talks about what it means to birth that reality in our life. Also, there's a lot going on right now, so I just want to wait a minute for people to join on Facebook. I don't know what you've been feeling lately, but I think take your eyes off of everything external. Look at it, you're grounded in your humanity and your divinity, and then move on to other things. So we'll get started in a minute. I hope everybody's doing okay. I'm kind of glad. I'm not a summer person, and it's interesting because, we don't get real hot where I live, and there's not a lot of humidity. So if you've never been to Northern California, you've discovered that don't come in July because that's when most of the fog is. So right now we're kind of going into August, which is generally the hotter weather for us. I remember when the kids were younger, it was always the hottest time of the year. They were going back to school and the weather was hot. So I hope you're doing okay. I hope when you join, let me know what you think about this. Share this. I'll go into greater depth. So let's get started. So I called this internal tornadoes and outward forces, and it came from a vision I had. The tornado I had was in a time of meditation, and I kept seeing it over and over and over. And I kept seeing a tornado, and then I saw many tornadoes. Well, the reality is we don't have a lot of tornadoes in California, but I grew up in Chicago. And I remember being young with the tornadoes coming. I remember my dad saying, get in the basement, because they were somewhat erratic, and you didn't know what they were going to do. You couldn't stop them from coming. So I kept seeing these tornadoes, and when I keep seeing things like that in a vision or anything, I want to know what they mean, not just metaphysical or esoteric. What does it mean for our life? What does it mean? So this is what I wrote on the last Facebook page. Sometimes we loop in life over and over and over, even when we deconstruct a belief system. We stay safe in that belief system, and we're just looping all the time. We're never really discovering who we are because we're still seeking a point of safety. But right now, with the tornadoes that are coming that will advance according to futurists and even channelers and even psychics, prophets, the next 2 to 3 years, even if you look at astrological charts, of which I'm not an astrologer, you're going to see that there is so much transitional upheaval over the next couple years. But the good news, we make it through. And we make it through not depending on our outward circumstances, but we're going to look to see who we really are. So when a tornado comes, it hits with a measure of destruction, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because in that destruction, we talk about deconstruction. We deconstruct from the beliefs, but what if we just let them all go? What if a choice is presented to us internally and it comes through outward circumstances and it's consistently confronting us internally in our heart? How much do we know we're divine? How much do we know we're immortal? How much do we know we're intuitive? So it's no longer necessary to be deconstructing. Let's destruct all of that and move into a new path. So the tornadoes, as I'm going to talk about, present a decision. Move out and explore, or keep looping back into safety, hiding in the basement, hoping that they won't affect you, hoping that they won't affect you in any way, and hoping that some savior is coming, whether it's a religious savior, a governmental savior, any kind of savior, which folks, they're not coming. So it's time to stand firm in the face of what's coming, to see it clearly, but to know you're greater. So let's get started. Tornadoes are sudden approaching storms, okay? They're sudden approaching storms, and they always come with a measure of destruction. And then suddenly, we see many approaching tornadoes with a propensity for mass destruction. We're going to look at this physically, but we're also going to look at it spiritually and metaphorically, because that's what I kept seeing in these dreams and visions. So these tornadoes that were coming, that are here right now, there's not just one of them. There's many, and there's a purpose for them. It's like there's this swirling energy of distraction outwardly, an outward force of distraction that really affects you inwardly. Does not a tornado affect you with some measure of fear or anxiety, hoping it bypasses you or hoping it doesn't destroy your home or your land? But it's time to face it head on. So we're going to look at some of those, and we're not going to stand in fear in the face of them, no matter what happens over the next 3 years as we transition in so many ways, so many beautiful ways in an awakening. So we're going to face them head on, but in reality, the physical tornadoes affect us physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Well, so do allegorical tornadoes, or tornadoes of swirling energy that is around the planet right now, trying to keep you distracted. So we're going to look at it through a physical lens as also well a spiritual lens. So I hope you're with me so far. Let me reiterate. Tornadoes are sudden approaching storms. They all carry a measure of destruction when they hit the earth. And then suddenly, we're aware there's many approaching tornadoes with a propensity for mass destruction. We're living in fear. It's all a narrative. Everything we're facing right now that comes from outward circumstances is basically built on a lie. If you do any historical research, we're being channeled into believing that we are nothing and we're consistently in lack and we need a savior. So reality that we're facing these things, knowing they're not going to bring us down. And even if we were to pass over the next 4 years, you're immortal anyway. You're divine. You're eternal. You're just going back home. So reality brings us into a deep awareness of our divine humanity. So let's go. We are unwilling to loop back into any narratives. So these outward tornadoes created by outward forces are producing an inward challenge. Do I accept everything that's being told? And I'm not going to go into detail. Listen to other videos I've done on what is the agenda of the World Economic Forum, what is the agenda of the World Health Organization. It's not necessary that we know all this because I'm talking from knowing it. And I'm telling you that we're not looping back. Those who are going to go forward are going to raise their consciousness in a way that is going to produce a beautiful life. Listen to the futurists talk. So, internal tornadoes are times of swirling energy all around you. It seems like you can't pinpoint where something's coming from. Well, look at the condition of this nation. You look one way, they distract you another way, they distract you another way, and they're creating all these swirling energies of fear to where you're constantly moving, maybe in your vision, not able to pinpoint where the storm is coming from. So move out of the storm and move into the peace of knowing when you're still. So you can't pinpoint a distinct vision or even a point of reference. It's meant to cause confusion. It's meant to cause fear. So we are still in that place of nothingness. It's not being nothing. It's not able to grasp or hold on because belief systems are crashing. It is the end of religion as we know it. Spirituality is evolving according to principles of entanglement and oneness. And it is the sole purpose of knowing that you are in time for such a time as this, and you are authentic, and you are creative, and wherever you are grounded, you express that in your life. So this swirling energy of a tornado, if we look at it allegorically, or if we look at it physically, it's not a hurricane. There is no eye of the storm. You know, I lived in Texas for a while when hurricanes came through, and there was an eye of the storm where you could at least breathe for a minute before the backlash of the storm as it swirled came in. But that's not a tornado. A tornado pinpoints and moves along a path that is determined by the wind, and it moves and it tends to destroy based upon the power of the tornado. It will destroy things in its path. But what happens if tornadoes are coming toward you from every direction? As I've just talked about, where is your point of safety? It's within. It's never without. So there is no center eye of the storm, which could be relegated to a savior of some type, getting you out of that situation. Folks, if you never hear anything I say, hear this. We're not going around this. We're going through this. And we will be wiser and more beautiful and more creative and more innovative with a conscious awareness rising. And I'm not sure where it's taking us. All I know is that is fact that will be revealed to us. So an internal tornado triggers inner and outer realities in your life, affecting the mind and the heart. Yet there is a way around it. It's now. It's real. Engage within all this energy. Take it head on into a spiritual awakening, realizing there is no normal returning. It doesn't matter. No savior is coming in politics. No savior is coming in religion. You are the way. You are the truth. You are the life to be the change on this planet. Will you comply with the distraction or the tornadoes? Will you rise up to face them head on and perhaps tell them, move? If you're hunkering down in a shelter of fear, if you're hunkering down in a shelter of anxiety, you never see it. So you can't say move. No, you have the power. You have the authority to stand right in the essence of who you are and say move. So what about tornadoes? Because this vision didn't leave me. And I don't know, I've heard, some of you have said you've been through intense storms of energy lately, as I have been. So a tornado forms from a large thunderstorm. Let's think about that metaphorically. It forms because there's activity in the air, lightning, possibilities, destruction. Well, look around. It's all there. And suddenly, many of the controllers create the tornadoes because they believe they're God, or they believe that they're going to bring the essence of that confusion down into all these tornadoes to get you to fear and live in an anxiety to distract you from truth. And that truth is within. The ultimate goal of distraction is to keep you away from knowing who you are. So what forms a tornado? Well, these thunderstorms are about the warm air rises and the cool air falls. It then forms spinning currents inside the cloud that then turn vertical and drop down from the clouds, becoming a tornado. Well, what did I see? Well, I had to think about that. What if the warm air rising is our heart intelligence? Our heart-brain coherence, looking at things that say, this isn't true. No, that's not true. I'm more than that. But yet the cool air coming down, wanting to form this tornado to get you to conform, to get you to comply, is the cool air that has no emotion, no empathy. It is greedy, it is narcissistic, and it just wants you to be, they want to be the answer to everything in your life. What do you do with that? Because it's unavoidable. You can opt out in a pseudo-spirituality that pretends like nothing's going on, or you can buy into everything and enter the duality and take sides about everything. Let me repeat that. You can opt out into a nebulous New Age belief of pseudo-spirituality that says, I am ascended, I am whole, and all that mantra does is never have you face the reality that you're going through these things. Or you can take the other side and defend truth to the death and take a side of duality, this against this, that against that. And it never produces the peace in you, nor does it empower you to know that you are the answer. You don't need to vote for anybody, folks. You're the answer. So let's continue to look at this metaphorically in our lives. There is a clash in the warm energies of our heart and the cool energies of control that are dominating this planet, and it's causing an upheaval. Not only are we facing physical things that are happening all over the world, not just in this nation. If you're at all what's going on in Europe and other places, there is a constant upheaval coming. And what's happening is it's clashing with the energies of our heart. We don't want war, folks. We want peace. We don't want leaders dictating death. Maybe you do, but I don't. I don't want war, but who's listening to us? No one. because it's all built upon greed and narcissism. So the cool air is touching the warm air of our heart, rising up in a swirling energy saying, this isn't right. This isn't true. This isn't right. And yet it's constant barrage of the distraction of the cool air, and the tornadoes are forming from outward forces. But inside of us, we're believing there's got to be more than this. There's got to be more than this. So it's time for the destruction of certain things we've long believed. Get rid of the platform and move out into who we are. So there's a clash in the warm energies of our heart and the cool energy of control that has dominated the planet in upheaval. This produces effects in the linear realm, which we can't avoid seeing. These are outward forces. But also inwardly, it could strike a fear in our heart, avoiding a connection with the field and our divine humanity. Have you ever faced a tornado? Have you ever seen what's coming? Are you running to the shelter because you don't know which way? It's very unpredictable. But yet the tornado that is forming in your heart is learning to take these diverse energies and to push them aside and to be still and know who you are in your divinity, in your humanity. We have the power. We've always been told we don't. We've always been told by every organization and structure out there. It astounds me the same narrative runs through every outward structure, whether it's religion or government. You are not enough. That's the reality. But you are. You are the I am in your I am essence. So this can produce all this going on right now. You're having to deal with outward forces, and then you're having to deal your ascension in arising in consciousness. So both, now think about it, both desire an effective destruction. The outward forces want to destroy that I am essence in you, but the inward forces want to tell you that you're perfect in your divinity. You don't need a savior or an intermediary. So not only are you having to look at yourself more carefully and know who you are, you're also facing outward forces. I know people that are so struggling financially. They're struggling even with homelessness. They're struggling with constant medical problems. They're struggling with family issues. And so they're being hit by outward forces and then told to arise. But this is the point we are on this planet. This is where we are right now on this planet. It is a total upheaval to produce a new earth with a new humanity. So tornadoes in the natural are destructive of physical life. I've said that, outer forces. And they're also destructive of spiritual and emotional life because it affects you body, soul, and spirit in this 3D realm. But they disrupt the pattern of our life in so many ways and are created to do exactly that. If you allow, or if a tornado touches down and it destroys an area, it's going to affect your life for years to come if it's brought down your house. So you never know what the tornado is going to do. So the outward forces that are creating this tornado of what I've talked before, universal basic income, the CBDCs, all this controlled by the global elites. If you don't like that, you might have to move on because it is a reality and it is true. So they create this opportunity and they want you to be dependent. And so sometimes it's too much. Sometimes you can't listen to what's happening out there and also be going through things in your own life. It's very difficult. So who do you trust more? You trust yourself. You trust yourself. So there is a silent, subtle reality being birthed amidst the storm that is the simplicity that if you really listen, don't look to their coming a normal anymore, which means our purpose is to go through and in the process of this destruction to stand strong. This is why you are in time for such a time as this. So let's talk about the emotional response and the distractions that are being caused inside of us. This is an internal preparation. It may not be coming, but if you look even through mythology and ancient wisdom, there have been times in the history of the planet, I'm not, an expert on this, where there have been times of destruction to birth a new humanity. So perhaps this is a time, through the repetition of all of time itself, to finally realize who we are, to finally realize that when we ascend out of here, what have we brought to this point in time? So there's an internal preparation. Do not deny that you're grounded in this reality, while at the same time learning to flow in intuition through this life. Many astrologers, futurists, channelers, and more pinpoint now and for the next years into 2027 that we are going to face challenges on every front. There is no need to fear. Perfect love casts out fear. What is the fear trying to do? Move you out of your love energy, which is not mystical or ethereal. It is power in your heart. You are now in time for such a time as this. So what are we facing? How do we face this? Number one, embrace the winds of change. When you see this stuff coming, don't hunker down for safety, but stand firm that there is an internal transformation in the midst of external chaos. Example, I live in the Bay Area. I've lived here aside from living overseas for many years, and there is always the possibility of an earthquake, always. And back in, I don't remember the year, the Loma Prieta quake, it destroyed a lot of Oakland. If I recall correctly, it formed mass fires in the Oakland Hills. Well, I'm prepared. I'm getting ready to buy a solar generator. I have food. I have water. I have a lot of things to prepare me that if the electricity goes out for weeks on end, people that live in Houston know this. If you've lived in hurricanes, you know this. So there is a reality to be prepared so that you have peace. It's not conspiracy theory. It's not being a prepper. It's being wise. It's being wise. So this example of if you're going to embrace the winds of change, be prepared. Intuitively know, like when CrowdStrike went off and kept people locked in an airport, maybe your intuition needs to tell you where to travel and where not to go. We don't know what's coming, folks, but there are things coming that are disrupting things. If you really look at what happened with CrowdStrike, maybe rely more on your intuition than on people or schedules or situations telling you to be at this place at this time. So that is the practical means of embracing the winds of change. It's not fear-based. I don't own extra food and water because I'm fear-based. No, I just know that this area is prone to earthquakes. There's earthquakes every day in California. They're at low levels, and I just watched a video this morning on how they're seeing a major shift in the San Andreas Fault. Well, you know what's between me and the fault? The fault is that way, and the ocean is that way. So let's just hope it doesn't slide off the continent. Now, another way to face this, these inner tornadoes and outward forces that are perpetrating these lies is that there is an inner turmoil going on. Know that even though everything's going on out there in reality, however you define it, that's up to you. There is also an inner turmoil that sometimes we say, I can't take this anymore. I don't know what the hell's going on. I can't pinpoint it. It's like we're in the middle of nothingness. We're looking for answers, and the answers are not coming to us. So this internal turmoil can rise up in fear or it can rise up in peace. What's the answer to inner turmoil? Introspection, silence, connection with your higher self that is speaking to you in your incarnation outside of time. You are one with that in the divine mind to direct your path. So there is a way to have peace in the midst of the storm. And you're going to have that because you don't want to be caught up in the energy of people that are running around frantic, that the tornadoes are coming and everything's going on. You be still and and let the power in you direct your path. So then I have down, do what you can, what you have with where you are. That's a very powerful saying. Roosevelt said it. So again, I want to say after CrowdStrike disabled travel around the world, be aware that times are different. So intuitively look at travel in a new way. Look at what if the internet goes down? What if it goes down for 4 or 5 days? Can you live with that? There's so many ways to be prepared that don't depend upon fear, and I think we're in those times. So I would ask you to ask yourself, how could you prepare so that you can flow more effortlessly in peace? So how we face this also, there's a cathartic release of energy. This is a release of strong emotions in the midst of a curated narrative. So much violence of the heart going on right now, it's not funny. We're going to perpetuate a war. We're going to acknowledge only one side being right. We're going to be killing people. We're divided as a nation. There's tribalism, and it's all a plan. This is narrated, folks. This isn't happening by chance. It's very well narrated. It's been narrated all through history. And finally, there's so many people waking up that, no, I'm not going to comply, and you're not going to tell me what to do. So when there is a resonance in your heart, between your heart and your brain, and how you connect with the peace of the field, the cathartic means it's a release of strong emotions, which is what they want. They want fighting. They want duality. They want separation. They don't want me to like you just because you vote different from me. They don't want me to like you if you're a different color than me. It's the plan, as always has been. What if we embrace and leave the cathartic energy of emotion away and keep our emotions intact in the midst of wisdom? You know, emotions that operate in wisdom can say something very powerful, but they're said in love, so that we're not, even if people reject us, we know that we've said it the right way. This are the powerful ones are rising up right now, but they're not rising in a cathartic release of emotions. They're rising up that I will not be moved. I will not comply. Doesn't matter what you try to do to me. Doesn't matter what you say I am. Doesn't matter how much you lie to me. I say no. I am for life. I am for love. I am against war. I am for peace. And it doesn't matter what lies they try to tell me. I will not enter that energy, because once you enter that energy, they've got you trapped. Truth, intuitive truth inside of you, will birth a path of wisdom and true love and light, that you will look and not be swayed. You will know the way to go. So don't allow yourself to enter into any chaos. Trust your intuition. And lastly, realize this is a portal opening into a spiritual awakening to create a new earth in a new humanity. What does that mean? Well, I'm thinking a lot about that. I took a seminar at Arlington Institute when Penny Kelly taught on what it means to be a new human and the birthing of a new earth. So I'm going to watch it, and I'll bring you some notes from that on the next time. What does it mean? I personally believe that if we're going to ascend, and a new earth is being birthed, and the old is leaving behind, and we ascend, it's going to change our physical bodies. So, as light increases in us, it's going to change us. I haven't studied this, but others have. And it's amazing what will happen as we let go of certain things. It will increase our intuition. Light will increase our resonance in the field. So there are spiritual applications, but there are also physical applications of birthing a new earth. And I will do some thinking about that. So how do I end? I am excited. Let me tell you personally something. There are questions that are rising up in me, and I know are rising up in you, that I've stopped looking for answers for. And I've been waking up in the middle of the night quite a lot and just sitting there, and everything in me, ego-wise, wants to have an answer. But my heart keeps saying, shh, just be. And there's a settling of the mind that has to take place. The result of the settling of the mind means that there is an openness of the heart in gratitude to accept who you are, your I am essence. And it doesn't bring a false peace. Suddenly, there's no anger. There's no confrontation within yourself. The hunger within you that is birthed is the desire to want to know yourself. And here's what I found out about myself in several days of just taking time to be. I realized this shirt that I bought at Gap, it says strong, confident, and kind. I've always been strong. I've always been kind. I haven't always been confident. And I've realized, and maybe you can relate to this, I think women can actually really relate to this, how much in my life I have given power and authority to someone else. whether it's a church, whether it's a person. And I never stood in that place and was never taught to stand in that place of taking the authority in myself to be myself, because I can be pretty wild. You don't know my background. I was never this calm. I was wild and crazy in everything I did. And somehow that got lost because I was always told to fit in and never to stand out. And suddenly I realized that this is going to affect, this knowing of myself puts those outer forces of the tornado to say, no, 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 no. You're not coming at me at this point in time where I'm finally waking up to who I am, and you are going to try to tell me who I am? No way. Absolutely no way. So I am going to shut down the noise, and I'm going to believe that there is a way forward that may involve some changes. I've heard that August is going to be, as I said, I'm not an astrologer. Lisa's the astrologer. August is this intense month of upheaval in certain ways that are just astronomically vibrant and clashing. And so get ready. Be peaceful. This is where you're going to find out your power and who yourself is. So where am I? I'm looking for a change. I want a change, and I want to bring forth more of my creativity. What are you trying to bring forth? Who are you? I always ask that. I don't want to know what you do. I want to know who you are. What stirs your passion? What stirs your interests? Because that will indicate who you really are. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope this has helped you. If you like it, share it. If you're watching on the replay, let me know what you're going through. Let me know how you're facing this. I love you guys. It's a good time to be alive. There's no better time than this time. It is not by accident. It never was by accident that you have been birthed into time for such a time as this. Y'all have an incredible day.